insane. Anthony Fauci is one of the biggest liars in the planet, and I didn't know who he was. May 2020, he declared in a memo on NIH.gov that there is one drug and one drug only that we're going to allow all hospitalized Americans to be treated with for COVID-19. They gave that drug to Ebola patients. Anthony Fauci was the only one that funded the entire study in Africa, so he knew this data. They found that it was the only drug in that one-year study that had an over 50% death rate of all the innocent Africans they gave that drug to in that experimental trial. Anthony Fauci declared in May of 2020 that in that Ebola trial, it was found to be the most safe and effective drug against the Ebola virus. That's what he said. I just happened to read the memo, and then I clicked the hyperlink to go read the study, only to find out it was actually found to be the least effective and the most dangerous. I knew right away from the Gilead study conducted 2 months earlier that the entire kidney failure, multiple organ failure was a result of remdesivir and had nothing to do with the virus. And that is absolutely true. I said in May of 2020, went to the media, I said everyone needs to be warned that Anthony Fauci has declared a drug to be the solution to a pandemic for all innocent Americans. He is going to kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of innocent Americans with this drug and this protocol. This protocol was designed, and it is still in place right now as the only drug protocol in hospitals. You know what's amazing? I'm sitting here in front of you guys. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I am the retired chiropractor trying to protect the medical profession. Medical doctors who are trying to use off-label drugs that are way more safe and effective and have been FDA approved for decades, like ivermectin, like hydroxychloroquine, like budesonide. Doctors around this country, and including in this state, are losing their licenses and having them threatened for using FDA-approved drugs that have been safe and effective for decades. I, as a chiropractor, don't use those drugs, but those save lives, and they're proven to. Remdesivir is proven to kill lives. I said since May 2020, remdesivir will result with at least 30% deaths of everyone who receives that drug in a hospital for 5 to 10 days. I got Thomas Renz to pull the CMS data. You know, for the state of New York, I decided to run it in New York. I wanted to know Medicare-aged patients. What's the percentage of death of those who received remdesivir for its 5-day protocol? 26.9% of them died. And do you know right now that remdesivir, as of October 2020, was found by the Cardiovascular Toxicology Journal that it actually causes death of heart cells and is cardiotoxic and can lead to cardiac arrest? That was in October. December 16th, your NIH with Anthony Fauci there, decided to update now all guidelines for treatment drugs allowed and approved for COVID-19 Americans. Guess what's the only listed drug FDA approved for hospitalized Americans? Remdesivir. When it is published by the World Health Organization to cause increased acute kidney failure compared to all other drugs being used in the world when treating COVID-19. And that was published in April of last year. So you have kidney failure, liver failure, now heart failure being caused by remdesivir, published to do so. 2 months later, your NIH, the FDA, still sits back and goes, this is the only approved drug for hospitalized COVID-19 patients. You know what's more disgusting? January 21st of this year, the FDA extended an emergency use authorization and said there's now only one authorized medication that can be pumped into the veins of all newborns in this country to 18-year-old pediatric age-ranged children, starting with 7-pound newborns. Guess what the only authorized drug to treat COVID-19 children is now? In hospitals and outside. Remdesivir. It says in the document on the EUA, third bullet point on page 8, it says every medical doctor who's going to give remdesivir to a newborn has to tell the parents and the caregivers that there are other alternative treatment options for COVID-19 for their child. I want you to go further into the document, 3 pages later, under alternative treatments for pediatric age Americans. It says there are no approved authorized alternative treatments for COVID-19 pediatrics, 7-pound newborns to 18-year-old children in America. 43,000 Pennsylvanians have died from COVID. They died from COVID treatment. Peter McCullough just gave us a statistic of like 93% could have been saved. I'm going to tell you right now, 40,000 of them died from the ill-advised hospital protocols in your hospitals. The same hospitals and these protocols that the medical doctors are being threatened with their license if they don't use them. And then you've got the pharmacy board, which you should be calling in here to find out why are they stripping the rights of medical doctors writing off-label, safe and effective proven medications like Peter McCullough's treatment protocol, like fluvoxamine that Steve Kirsch has helped. Find out why the board, the state pharmacy board, is telling their pharmacists in this state it's okay to deny filling those prescriptions the medical doctors write. It is absolutely absurd. These mandates need to be dropped, and I'm talking about all of them. The masks need to be dropped. The mandates for children need to be dropped in schools. They are ineffective. The children are not at risk. The vaccine mandates need to be dropped. The protocols in hospitals need to be dropped. The CBER and Steve Anderson needs to be contacted. You need to subpoena the CMS data. No one has seen it. CMS right now, and has been, is offering a 20% bonus payout to all hospitals to choose remdesivir for all Medicare-aged patients, and then they will pay 20% on the entire hospital bill if they just use that one drug with all Medicare-aged patients. It is on CMS.gov's website right now. Chiquita Brooks LaSour should also be in court. She's the administrator of CMS. Why are they bribing all hospitals in this nation with a 20% bonus payout for the one and only drug supposedly approved by the FDA and recommended by the NIH for COVID-19 treatment in hospitals? Can anyone explain to me why Medicare has to bribe our hospitals to use the only drug they're allowed to use for COVID-19? That's known to cause kidney failure, heart failure, and liver failure. They're being incentivized not only for using remdesivir in these COVID protocols, hospitals are being paid, not a joke, to PCR test every patient that walks through the door. And the percentages of those that they actually do it for, no matter why you went to the hospital, you could sprain your ankle and walk in there. They're PCR testing everybody to get their numbers up. And then the FDA or the federal government is paying out a bribe every month for the percentages of PCR tests. Then they're being given a 20% bonus for every single, not a joke, every single positive COVID-19 diagnosis they give in the hospital every month. Then there's the 20% incentive for treatment using remdesivir for the Medicare age group on the entire hospital bill. Then they're incentivized for ventilating. Then they're incentivized even further for every COVID-19 death in the hospital. Upwards of $9,000 a case per month. You tell me why it is administrators of hospitals are holding their doctors accountable to follow these one and only protocols. What are you up against? Let me tell you what you need to do. The chiropractor is going to defend the medical profession. You ready? Please let them practice medicine. Never in the history of the world has there been one protocol for every human. We are all genetically different. Every aspect of our physiology is different. Please put legislation in place, no matter if there's a pandemic, if there's a national emergency declared by Joe Biden. I don't care what it is. Please allow doctors once again to be protected to practice medicine. They're the only ones that know the history of their patients. You cannot tell me there is one drug solution or protocol for every American who gets a respiratory infection right now. It's impossible. And then you're going to hold them, that you're going to take their license from them, destroy their livelihood, and then slander them with their reputation. Because they're holding to their oath to do no harm and do what they felt empowered their entire life to do, which was to preserve and protect innocent lives.